The Storm Between Us by Vosotros, narrated by Erico Baloco. Chapter 2. Charm. I didn't like being unproductive. With only 16 hours in a day to do all the stuff that I needed to accomplish, I abhorred doing nothing. It felt like I was missing out on something. It was like I was wasting my time when I should be working towards my dreams. And I've been like this ever since I was young. That was why whenever someone or something was delayed, my classmates would already know that I was already fuming. However, for some reason, I couldn't hate my idleness today. The mid November rain had already stopped and I should be going ahead, but I just kept looking at the sky for I didn't know since when. Something was keeping me from standing up and leaving behind this shed, and I couldn't pretend that I didn't know what that something was. Fear. It had been a week since I broke up with Michael, and now that I had to meet him in the cafe where we usually hang out together, I couldn't help but reminisce about how I ended my relationship with him. My decision was not just a result of my whims, it was brought about by weeks of sleepless nights, asking myself what I really wanted. It was the fruit of several arguments on whether I should stay in the relationship or not. I knew, deep in my heart, that I still loved Michael, but then I felt that I was the only one dreaming for greater things. It seemed that he was not serious about his future. At first, I didn't want to blame Michael. He didn't have the drive to do good in academics because of his fraternal twin brother, Nathan, who was good in everything and who was greatly favored by their mom. I tried to understand that. My thought at the time was, at least, he's still passing his exams. And it would have been better if things stayed just like that. But the worst thing happened. He started to attend gatherings and he seemed to enjoy it more than studying. Then he started failing his exams and eventually a couple of his subjects. I knew that he was not just there to waste time away. He was making great connections with people he was meeting. And there were a lot of times that he was making money by buying and selling secondhand items like gadgets and even vehicles. Yes, he was earning, but was it sustainable? I didn't think so. I knew that because that's how my parents separated when I was in high school. It started when my father's trading business shut down during the aftermath of Asian financial crisis in 1997. Suddenly, he needed to find a job. However, he couldn't find a decent one because he was an undergraduate. He became a clerk and a staff in a manufacturing firm, but his salary could not provide for our growing family, especially since my brother was already in college. That was when my mother stepped up and decided to go back to the corporate world. She got into a bank, and in the next 3 years, she did really well. She got promoted twice. However, that was also the time when Papa spiraled. He couldn't accept that Mama was the one providing for our needs. He became a drunkard, and slowly he drifted away until one day he left the house. He left us. That was why I tried to persuade Michael to be serious in his studies. But instead, we always ended up fighting. He would argue that he was better at selling things and that between the two of us, it should be me instead who should focus on academics. That was when it dawned on me that Michael had become complacent because he had me. I became his comfort zone, his safety net. How can he be my partner if he would be content with the present? I was not expecting him to become a super billionaire, but at least I would like him to grow with me personally and financially. Someone who could work with me as we built our dreams together. I sighed. That was how my dilemma started, which led to my breaking up with him, with the hope that he would take life seriously if I would step away. However, I missed one thing. I wasn't able to tell him the reason why I broke up with him. I just didn't have the courage. Telling him that it was over already took all my strength. Telling him that he didn't fit the idea of being my life partner was already too much to bear. However, no matter what I did, I knew that I would have to tell him the truth. There was no running from it now. I must face him. This was why I agreed to meet him in the cafe. But just when I was about to stand up from the shed, my phone, a Nokia 3310, vibrated. I received a message from Kat, my best friend. Charm, Michael is in the hospital. He passed out near the cafe. My heart pounded as I hopped off the tricycle when I reached the hospital. After paying the Kuya driver, Kuya is a word of respect to call an older man or brother. I rushed to the entrance, but even before I could set my foot inside, a shrill voice called me from behind. Charm! I turned back and saw Kat running towards me. What happened to Michael? I asked. However, Kat just shrugged. I don't know. Jake just told me that Michael was found unconscious near the cafe. No one saw what happened. I felt my shoulders drop. If only I had come earlier, then this might not have happened. Hey, will you be okay? Kat asked me. I looked at her and nodded. What's important right now is that Michael is okay. Kat held my hand as we headed towards the emergency room where Michael was brought into. Although each patient was allowed to have only one companion, we got in since there was not a lot of patients today. We saw Jake, Michael's closest friend, who led us to one of the small rooms separated by a curtain. And there inside, we saw Michael. He looked at me with those nice, droopy eyes and with his thick brows and clean-shaved face. I couldn't help but feel a flutter in my tummy. However, even though I felt relieved that he seemed okay, I was getting a different feeling from him. I couldn't read his emotionless face. Hi, Michael. Kat greeted him as we approached his bed. He gave us a small smile. Hi, what happened to you? Kat asked, inspecting him. Why did you pass out? Actually, I don't know. Michael shrugged. I was just standing in front of the cafe, and the next thing I knew, I was here. I can't even remember fainting on the street. However, before Kat could reply, he looked at me again. Hi, Charm. His voice was soft, yet nonchalant. Surprised, I just smiled and waved my hand. This felt awkward. However, it seemed that he didn't notice how half-hearted my response was, because the reaction on his face didn't even shift or twitch. We're supposed to talk, right? He asked. I swallowed hard. Yes, at the cafe. I see. He nodded. But I guess there's no need for any discussion now. You don't love me anymore, right? What? I almost blurted out, but my mouth remained shut. I wasn't sure what was happening. What should I say? Then he sighed. Looking at you now, I can say that I don't feel anything for you too. So don't feel guilty. I think I have already moved on. What was that? Kat exclaimed once we got out of the emergency room. Once we got out of the emergency room, we were walking along the corridor, lost in the events that happened moments ago. After Michael had said his piece, Kat and I were stunned for a couple of seconds. Good thing that Kat was able to immediately recover and diverted the conversation towards Michael's release from the hospital. After that, we bid our farewell. But why? Why did Michael say those things? His emotionless face, his straight tone, and his cold demeanor. All of those were sending signals that I couldn't read. What was he trying to do? Then I felt something grab both of my shoulders. Tell me, Charm, Kat demanded. Did you do something to him? Is there something that you're not telling me? No, of course not, I protested. I brushed away her hands. What would I do to him? I haven't even seen him since we broke up last week. Okay, but why was he acting weird? I bit my lip. I didn't know either. So, what's your plan? She asked. It took me a while to respond. But isn't this for the better? I murmured. What do you mean? I mean, if he has already moved on, then at least there's no problem anymore. Kat took my hand. Don't you want him back? Her voice was soft and warm. I sighed, trying to disperse the lump in my throat. When I broke up with Michael, I prepared myself to let him go. There's no turning back now. And besides, after graduation, I'll be following my brother to Canada. If he can't even graduate from college, how can I even expect him to follow me there? But, Charm, Kat said, becoming more serious and concerned. Don't you think it's unfair to Michael if he doesn't get to know why you broke up with him? You did this for him, right? You left him because you think that it will push him to strive in life. I think it will help him. Who knows? Maybe if you tell him, he'll come to his senses. What good will talking to him do? He said it himself. He has already moved on, I said, even though I couldn't believe how it happened so fast. Had pursed her lips. Foreclosure. She had a point. And if that was the case, I needed to find the right time to tell Michael.